Now we discuss common size representation for cash flow statements. So friends, we can see a direct method statement here. Cash flow from operations, investing activities and financing activities are mentioned here. Now there are two companies, A and B, with drastically different numbers in terms of proportion are being demonstrated. For example, you can see cash received from customers is 80,929 million, and for B it is 557 million. So there is a lot of difference in terms of scale and size, right? So in such a case, what do we do? How do we compare between the two? Obviously friends, there is a way to do that. What we do is, in common size representation, we segregate the cash inflow sources from the outflow sources. So we write down the cash outflow sources separately and the cash inflow sources separately. Now it may so happen that what is a cash inflow for A is a cash outflow for B. For example, cash paid to retire long-term debt. This is a positive number in case of B, which means there has been cash inflow, while for A it's a negative number. So this means they have retired debt, which means there has been cash outflow. Similarly, cash paid to retire common stock. Here there is a reduction for A, 2062.5, but for B there is inflow, 41 million. So we have to deal it in this way. We have to mention it in both, and in case where there is no outflow, we mention just 0, because this will be 0 proportion. And here in the list of outflows, we bifurcate the magnitude of each of them, or we bifurcate the magnitude or the contribution of each of these line items in terms of percentages. Now first we calculate the total cash inflows and total cash outflows for A and B. Total cash inflows and total cash outflows. Okay, let us segregate it in a different way. So we use total cash inflows here and we use total cash outflows here. So what we were saying is, we indicate the proportion of contribution of each line items to the total cash inflow or outflow both, right? First, let us find out the total inflows for A. For A, the total inflows are 80929, 2619, and from cash paid to retire long-term debt and common stock, it's negative, so this will be 0, 0. So this is equal to this cash received from customers and cash received from sale of equipment. Rest is 0, 0. Now what we do, friends, is we divide this number by the total inflow. Similarly, we divide the second number by the total inflow. Now we can see it's a 96.8% contribution is from cash received from customers for A, and 3.1% is from cash received from sale of equipment. So we can convert it into percentages also, 97 and 3% approximately. Same thing we do for this one. So for B, the inflows are 557 plus 75 from sale of equipment plus 21 from debt and 41 from stocks. Now we'll be representing the percentages here. This is equal to 557 by 694. This is 80%. Sale of equipment 75 by 694. 11%. Debt from debt 21 by 694. 3% from stock 41 by 694. 6%. So now we are in a position to compare, friends. 97% of the cash received in case of A is from customers, while 80% is from B. Cash received from sale of equipment 3%, 11%. There is a drastic difference in both the cases. Now we come to the outflows. The total for outflows is 84070 for A, right? For A. Cash paid to suppliers. This is 40906 divided by this. So similarly, we can measure the remaining payments also from here. Is 17%, 14%, 1%, 5%. Purchase of equipment, this is this by this. 5%, 2%. We log the total value. Here we log the total value, then because there are consecutive negative values, we take advantage of it. So 2%, 2%, 5%. Common stock, dividends paid. Now we measure in case of B what is the situation. In case of B, the total outflows, this is equal to sum of the first 5 plus purchase of equipment plus dividend, cash paid from dividend. This is what is coming, right? Common stock and long-term debt, the contribution is 0 and 0. No point bothering here. In the other cases, obviously you can measure the amounts. Minus 231 by minus 508. Again we lock the value and drag it for the 5 items. Because they are consecutive, we take advantage of it. So it goes like this. Only the first 5 items. So you can compare now. Let me also introduce the other 2 items that are remaining first. Purchase of equipment, dividends paid. So now we are in a position to compare. You can see here, friends, cash received from customers 97% for A in terms of inflows, while it is 80% for B. So the earnings quality for B is lesser than earnings quality for A. This is one observation we can make instantly. Next thing is cash paid to suppliers. They are pretty similar, 49% and 45%. Cash paid to employees, the second value 17% and 6%. This means B, in terms of its employee expenses or number of employees, whichever may be the case, it is quite tight in that respect. Other operating expenses, miscellaneous expenses 14%, 7%. So there also, in terms of other operating expenses also, B has been quite judicious. Cash paid for interest, in case of A it is 1%, in case of B it is 9%, which means financial burden on B is more than that on A. Cash paid for income tax 5%, 7%, pretty similar. Cash paid for purchase of equipment 5%, 22%. So obviously, because of this huge scale of A, one equipment purchase has much less impact than that of B. For B, it's a much bigger proportion of the total outflows, 22%, right? Cash paid to retire long-term debt and common stock, this is 2%, 2% for A, while for B, this is basically in the inflow. They have taken debt and they have issued stock. Cash paid for dividends, A has paid more, B has paid less, 5% and 3% respectively. So we can compare right now how the inflows and outflows balance each other. So this is how we do a common size analysis for two companies with different scale of operations.